November 22, 1963, was one of the most inauspicious days for the United States. On that sad day, the acting U.S. President, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, was shot in daylight. Kennedy's murder was in the limelight of political murders of the 20th century. The president's unfortunate demise gave birth to numerous conspiracy theories. Some believed that Lee Harvard Oswald shot him, while some people consider that Oswald acted under the direction of a certain group or a foreign government. However, many of his supporters believe that Oswald alone was responsible for the president's murder. But why? Why would a young man shoot President John F. Kennedy? Hey guys, and welcome to Detory. In today's video, we will unveil the mystery of President Kennedy's murderer. We will talk about his childhood, youth, and what factors led him to be shot. On November 21, 1963, Kennedy, his wife Jacqueline, and Vice President Johnson went on a two-day trip to visit Texas to raise funds. Kennedy also intended to settle the differences with the Democratic Party to increase his chances for re-election in 1964. Just a month before Kennedy's trip to Texas, Adlai Stevenson, who was the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, was not welcomed warmly by the crowd. He observed many protesters and anti-Kennedy citizens. However, President Kennedy didn't experience such a hostile response. In fact, he was welcomed in San Antonio, Houston, and Fort Worth. The presidential party stayed in Fort Worth on November 21st. In the morning, Kennedy addressed the crowd in the parking lot of his hotel. After that, he delivered a speech at the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce. He then left for the airport with his wife to reach Dallas. Once he landed, there were thousands of citizens awaiting to meet him. The president and his wife left the airport, met Texas Governor John Connally and his wife, and left for the Trade Mart. It was scheduled that Kennedy would deliver a speech at the Trade Mart. More than 200,000 people were standing on the route to the Trade Mart. The president's motorcade turned on Elm Street and traveled through the Dealey Plaza. After that, the vehicle crossed the multi-story Texas School Book Depository building. A few moments later, the crowd heard the gunshots. It was 12:30 p.m. when the chaos began. According to the Warren Report, 2 bullets hit the president. The first bullet punctured the president's neck, exited through his throat, and then traveled through Governor Connally's shoulder and wrist, eventually striking his leg. The second gunshot hit Kennedy in the back of the head. The motorcade rushed him to neighboring Parkland Memorial Hospital. However, doctors' attempts were tragically vain. At 1 p.m., Kennedy was proclaimed dead, whereas Governor Connally survived. As the country and globe learned of Kennedy's death, the drama of his suspected attackers' pursuit and capture unfolded over the following hour. Bullet shells were discovered at a window on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository building overlooking the plaza, and a rifle somewhere on the 6th floor. The police questioned the building employees about their whereabouts at the time of the president's murder. They found that 2 men were not present at the time of the president's murder. One employee had stepped outside to watch the motorcade and was banned by police from re-entering the building. The other was Oswald, who had been working there for approximately a month. Oswald was observed on the 6th floor approximately a half hour before the shooting. Shortly after the shooting, he was also seen by the building's superintendent and a police officer. A description of him was shared by law enforcement. After shooting the president and creating an upheaval in the city, Oswald returned to the boarding house where he was staying. 15 minutes later, J.D. Tippit, a Dallas police officer, confronted Oswald while leaving the boarding house. Oswald shot and murdered Tippit with a .38 revolver in front of several witnesses, and was spotted entering the Texas Theater, where police captured him at 1:50 p.m. Vice President Johnson was concerned that the assassination of the president was just the beginning of a far larger campaign by the Soviets or other adversaries of the United States to disrupt the American government. Thus, he sought to arrange a fast transfer of presidential control and seek safety by departing Dallas by plane. Johnson took the oath of office aboard Air Force One at 2:38 p.m. before takeoff, with Kennedy's body aboard. Jacqueline Kennedy stood by his side. Her clothes were still stained with her husband's blood. When confronted by law authorities and the press, Oswald maintained his innocence, stating that he was a patsy. He wanted to contact John Abt, the U.S. staff attorney who was well known for defending communists. Oswald was transferred from Dallas City Hall to the county jail on the morning of November 24th. The entire event was broadcasted live on television. Jack Ruby, a nightclub owner with connections with the underworld, entered the basement parking garage of City Hall. As the cameras rolled, he shot Oswald with a revolver and yelled, "You killed my president, you rat." Ruby later claimed that he shot Oswald to keep Jacqueline Kennedy from testifying at Oswald's trial. Oswald was transported to Parkland Memorial Hospital, where both Kennedy and Oswald died. That was the final showdown of Oswald's life. People knew him as the murderer of President John F. Kennedy, yet nobody knew who he was and why he did what he did. Oswald was born in 1939 in New Orleans. His father had died just 2 months before his birth, and he spent most of his childhood in different orphanages. When Oswald turned 12, he went to stay with his mother in New York. He was sent to a youth detention center, where he developed an interest in communism. He moved back to New Orleans and joined the Marines in 1956. Oswald earned the qualification of a sharpshooter and also learned about Marxism. His earlier interest in communism was also magnified as he came across Marxism. He got an early honorable discharge from Marines 4 years after his joining. Once his duty was over in California, he decided to take a huge turn in his life by going to Russia when the Cold War was at its peak. He applied to the Albert Schweitzer College in Switzerland. He quickly traveled to France, England, and Helsinki to get a Russian visa. On October 16, 1959, Oswald arrived in Russia, and without wasting any other day, he announced his intention to defect to his tour guide. He stated that he didn't like the lifestyle and capitalism in the United States and wanted to become a Russian citizen. Oswald's request to stay in Russia was rejected. However, he was later allowed to stay and work in Russia. In January 1960, Oswald was sent to Minsk by the Russian government for a job. He was designated in the position of building prototypes for radios and television sets. Moreover, he was given housing, storage, and an apartment during his time in Minsk. After the fall of the Soviet Union in 1961, Oswald appealed to the U.S. Embassy to let him return to the U.S. Finally, in June 1962, Oswald was permitted to return to the United States with his wife Marina and his daughter June. He moved in with his family to Fort Worth, where his brother lived. Having spent 2.5 years in the Soviet Union, the FBI interviewed him to determine his intention to return to America. However, the FBI didn't find anything useful. The FBI officers complained about his aggressive nature, impolite attitude, and unclear answers to their questions. A year after he arrived in the United States, he bought a rifle with a telescopic sight and a .38 revolver. He tried shooting retired United States Major General Edwin. He was a strong critic of communism. The same year he landed a job in Texas School Book Depository in Dallas, the place from where he shot President John Kennedy. And 2 days later, he too was shot dead. After his arrest, he kept saying he wasn't guilty and completely innocent. When reporters asked him about the gunshots, this is what he told them: "I didn't shoot anybody, no sir. I am just a patsy." However, there is no proof that some other group instructed him to shoot the president. According to investigative journalist Gerald Posner, Oswald didn't have personal hostility toward John Kennedy, but due to his great appreciation and inclination for communism and Marxism, he hated capitalism and what Kennedy stood for. So, when he saw Kennedy, he took the opportunity and fired gunshots. His act was against the system that he loathed in America. But why did Ruby kill Oswald? Was it out of pure rage for the president's murder? Or did Ruby know more about the murder? To date, these questions still remain a mystery. So, what do you think of Kennedy's murderer, Lee Harvey Oswald? Do you think that somewhere his disturbed childhood shaped his adulthood? Or did he commit this crime due to his hatred of capitalism and the American system? Share your views in the comments below. We hope you found this video informative. If you did, make sure to hit the like button. To enjoy more amazing content, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new videos. We will see you next time. Till then, stay tuned.